Ladies and gentlemen, hello over there watching L24 Midnight News coming to you live from Algiers. And to the headlines. Arab leaders, including Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, arrived in the Saudi coastal city of Jeddah on Thursday to participate in the 32nd Arab League Summit. As clashes flared near a military camp, heavy air strikes pounded the southern areas of Sudan's capital on Thursday. With Russia's military operation in Ukraine high on the agenda, leaders of the world's most powerful democracies gathered Thursday for a group of 7 meetings in Hiroshima. UN World Meteorological Organization warns in its latest annual assessments that there is a 66% chance that annual mean global surface temperature will temporarily breach the verge of 1.5 Celsius rise above pre-industrial levels. Hello again and welcome. I'm your host Abdurrahim Kashor, and those were today's top stories. First, Algerian President Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune considered that students are a source of strength that help build the new Algeria whose path will not be stopped by hostile agendas. In a message addressed to students on the occasion of the National Students' Day, President Tebboune affirmed that Algeria will move forward with achieving the strategic goals of the nation and guarantee its supreme interests despite attempts to undermine its stability and undermine the cohesion and unity of its people. In presidency still, the Algerian President Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune sent a letter of condolences following the death of the General Caliph of Qadariya Order in Senegal. President Tebboune mentioned in his letter of condolences that the deceased devoted his life to the service of science and distribution of teachings of tolerance, Islamic religion, and the culture of coexistence, tolerance as well as love, as he was known for the qualities of generosity, kindness, and giving. In a different matter now, Syria's President Bashar al-Assad landed in Jeddah on Thursday, one day ahead of participating in the Arab League Summit hosted by Saudi Arabia. He is set to attend the summit in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia on Friday, where he will likely rub shoulders with the Arab presidents and kings after Syria was reinstated to the regional organization this month, more than 11 years after the suspension. Other Arab leaders, including Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas and Lebanese Prime Minister Najib Mikati, also arrived to the Saudi city. The Algerian Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf held bilateral talks with the Secretary General of the League of Arab States Ahmed Abul Ghaid in Jeddah on Thursday on the sidelines of the participation in the preparatory ministerial meeting for the 32nd Arab Summit. Algerian Foreign Minister indicated in a statement that the two parties reviewed the outcome of the Algerian presidency of the Arab Summit, where they expressed their satisfaction with the strong impetus given by the Algiers Summit for joint Arab action and direction it to the lead opened promising prospects for reunification and unification of the world of the Arab countries. The League of the Arab States has ended a decade-long exclusion of Syria from the Arab Organization. The decision had been adopted by Algeria since the holding of the 31st meeting of the Arab League Council at the summit level in Algeria on November 1, 2022. After years of reluctance, all the stakeholders adopted Algeria's approach by announcing the return of Damascus to the Arab League. And a different topic now, in the occupied city of Al-Quds, tens of thousands of settlers accompanied by extremist ministers from Netanyahu government participated in the provocative flag march. Simultaneously, popular demonstrations took place in the Gaza Strip to denounce this Zionist event. Hussein Breka.
On the anniversary of its occupation, Al-Quds witnessed provocative Jewish rituals and dancing on Islamic sanctities. Thousands of Jewish settlers and extremists took part in the Zionist flag march, proudly raising their flags as a symbolic claims of sovereignty over Al-Quds. Prominent figures, including ministers of national security, finance, and energy, as well as the head of the Knesset Foreign Affairs and Security Committee, were among the participants in the march. This annual event serves as a celebration of the occupation of East Al-Quds in June 1967. The occupation authorities deployed over 3,000 policemen to allegedly secure the march. However, it transformed the Damascus Gate area and various streets of Al-Quds into military zones. Settlers stormed Damascus Gate and assaulted Palestinians, forcing them to remain confined in their homes. Meanwhile, Palestinians in the Gaza Strip gathered to express their opposition to the march and reject the Zionist practices, proudly raising Palestinian flags as a symbol of unity.
What is called the Flag March, which is organized by the occupation today in the occupied Al-Quds, is one of the equipment of the religious war that the occupation started against our Islamic and Christian shrines. This march provoked all Muslims in the world. Our people will continue the legal resistance to preserve the identities of the holy city, the Palestinian, the Arab, and the Islamic identities. The Palestinian people will continue resistance to get back their rights in their land and shrines. The occupation government is responsible for organizing this march and these provocations.
Once again, the Zionist entity escalates its efforts to Judaize Al-Quds, despite international resolutions affirming that East Al-Quds is the capital of the State of Palestine, an inseparable part of its territory.
Sahrawi President Ibrahim Ghali received a delegation from the Algerian National Assembly participating in the activities of the second edition of the Arab Conference for Solidarity with the Sahrawi People. At the headquarters of the Sahrawi Presidency, Ghali considered the participation of the Algerian National Assembly an important step to get acquainted with the reality of the Sahrawi people, closely praising Algeria's permanent positions in defending the Sahrawi cause and advocating for it in international forums. In Africa, still Tunisian President Kais Saied declared that Tunisia is a country of tolerance and coexistence during a meeting with the Jewish, Muslim and Christian notables a week after the deadly shooting outside the synagogue in the city of Griba in Jarba. 3 gendarmes and 2 faithfuls were shot dead by the assailant, former gendarme, before he was shot dead by the police. The Tunisian president added that the organization is making good progress in identifying those responsible for the attack.
Investigations are still going on and will result in identifying those responsible for the attack. Those who organized and carried out this attack undoubtedly wanted to affect the security and stability of our country and sow discord and division in our society. This aggression is not only an aggression against people, but it is an aggression against all Tunisia.
The National Army arrested 4 terrorists and recovered weapons and ammunition following an operation carried out in the state of Tlemcen. The operation was carried out by detachments of People's National Army in the operational sector of Ain Dafla and came as a result of the optimal exploitation of information provided by the arrested terrorists. A statement from the Algerian energy giant Sonatrach said that the step Polymers SPA Sonatrach wholly owned affiliated has just awarded to international consortium Petrofac an important engineering, obtaining and construction contract in industrial area of Erzio, west of Algeria, for construction of petrochemical complex for the production of 550,000 tons per year of polypropylene for an amount of 1.5 billion US dollar. The statement added that this agreement, outcome of a selection process of an international restricted call for tender launched in April 2021 towards the major world leaders specialized in the construction of petrochemical complexes. A report by Organization of Arab Petroleum Exporting Countries OPEC said that Algeria's exports of liquefied gas recorded the highest growth rate in the Arab countries in the first quarter of 2023. The organization added in the first quarter of 2023, Algeria's liquefied gas exports rose to about 2.8 million tons compared with ton in corresponding quarter of 2022, in which exports fell below normal levels. The Algerian national airline Air Algerie signed a contract with the flying constructor of America Boeing for the acquisition of 8 new aircraft, an investment that demonstrates its commitment to providing a safe, comfortable, and reliable travel experience for its customers. More Ableu.
The national airline of Algeria, Air Algerie, took a significant step towards expanding its fleet by signing an agreement with aeronautical constructor of America Boeing on Wednesday. The agreement entails the acquisition of 8 737-9 MAX aircraft, showcasing Air Algerie's commitment to enhancing its operations and serving its passengers more effectively.
The 737-9 is a single-aisle regional aircraft with around 180 seats configured in a single or dual-class configuration, and it has a range around 6,500 kilometers.
This strategic move aligns with Air Algerie's efforts to strengthen its fleet by acquiring a total of 15 new aircraft, as approved by President Abdelmadjid Tebboune during a previous Council of Ministers meeting. The airline aims to modernize its fleet, improve passenger experience, and bolster its position as a leading carrier in the region.
Oh, it's a wonderful market. Air Algerie is a tremendously important airline to Boeing. We've been working with Air Algerie for many decades, and the market itself is very robust, very large. As you know, many Algerians fly north into Europe, and of course you have a tremendous network throughout Africa as well. So Air Algerie is just one of our extremely important and old customers that we've had a long relationship with. So we're very pleased to have continued it with this order.
According to the Director General of Air Algerie, Yassine Ben Slimane, the Algerian airline is also in talks with Airbus to acquire 7 additional aircraft. With these combined acquisitions, Air Algerie's fleet will expand to approximately 71 aircraft, providing the airline with increased capacity and operational flexibility.
So one of the aspects that's been so important to us in this visit is our relationship with the airline and the people that we work with, our counterparts, during these projects. And working with Air Algerie has been a tremendous pleasure and always has been. And what we do in the aviation business is not easy. We build airplanes. Air Algerie flies airplanes. We connect people all over the world. And the business of what we do, it will not work without the relationship between the partners. And Air Algerie and Boeing are some of the best partners in the world in this business.
Expanding the fleet is a strategic move for Air Algerie as it seeks to meet growing demands and enhance its competitiveness in the aviation industry. By acquiring new and advanced aircraft, the airline can improve its services, increase operational efficiency, and offer a wider range of destinations to its passengers.
G7 leaders have arrived in the Japanese island of Hiroshima to attend the G7 summit, where Ukraine and Russia are expected to top the agenda. Nabil Khazini.
One after the other, G7 leaders landed on Hiroshima's airport, a city that holds a very special significance. The Japanese island has recovered from the catastrophic damage by an atomic bomb and which continues to seek lasting world peace. As the leaders for the Group of Seven gather for their annual summit in Japan, Ukraine and Taiwan are expected to dominate summit discussions. The G7 leaders will endeavor to show a united front against Russia and China, as well as on other strategic issues on which their countries do not always adopt similar positions.
I'm proud that the United States and Japan are facing it together. And you know, we stand up for shared values, including supporting the brave people of Ukraine as they defend their sovereign territory and holding Russia accountable for its aggression.
In the meantime, China was rolling out the red carpet for 5 Central Asian countries, seeking regional influence. China commanded the summit with the states of the vast and strategically important neighboring region as the first major diplomatic event it hosts this year. For Beijing, the summit would be a milestone in the history of relations between the participating countries.
The summit issued a joint statement announcing the commitment of building a China-Central Asia community with a shared future. China has established comprehensive strategic partnerships and implemented the vision of building a community with a shared future on bilateral level with all the 5 Central Asian countries.
While China seeks a new era in relations with Central Asia, hopes for progress remain low during the G7 summit due to increasing tension with other nuclear powers such as Russia, North Korea and China.
Russia announced Thursday that the leaders of 6 African countries will visit Moscow next month as part of the peace initiative in Ukraine, announced by South African President Cyril Ramaphosa, who is in turn confirmed that Russia President Vladimir Putin and his Ukrainian counterpart Volodymyr Zelensky agreed to receive the African delegation to discuss ways of a political settlement to the war in Ukraine.
A group of African countries will indeed send a delegation, which will be in Moscow. The exact dates will be yet confirmed over the diplomatic channels. We have already said that we are ready to listen with great attention to any proposals that will contribute to resolving the situation in Ukraine.
In war still, but this time in Africa, hundreds of people have been killed in the western Sudanese city of Darfur amid fierce fighting raging between the regular army and the rapid support forces in the country again.
Fierce fighting continues to rage in Sudan, which has been the scene of violence and chaos over the last weeks. The truces which have been concluded have been violated and ceasefires broken, notably in the capital Khartoum. Many people have been displaced and others are still waiting for their turn to leave the conflict zones, including children who are frightened by the sound of gunfire and airstrikes that rocked their neighborhood. The head of Mental Health Division at the Ministry of Health in Red Sea State, Rasha Mohammed Tahir, speaks about the physical and mental status of the Sudanese children affected by the conflict.
We have a number of cases for children who have post-traumatic stress disorder, who are transferred to the psychiatric hospital. We also have similar cases among adults who were already under treatment, and we transferred them. The thing that we can do now for children is to support them and alleviate the bad psychological impacts on them.
For her part, UNICEF country representative in Sudan, Mandeep O'Brien, said that children are the ones who bear the sufferings of the conflict. O'Brien added that even before the conflict erupted in Sudan, the number of children suffering from malnutrition was already high.
Children, of course, in Sudan are bearing the heaviest brunt of the hostilities. Before the conflict, children were already caught in a perfect storm of crisis on top of crisis. And what this conflict has done is that it has further aggravated the already ongoing health and nutrition crisis, the water scarcity crisis, and it's deepened the learning crisis.
Intense fighting prevailing in Sudan has had many repercussions on the population, including on innocent children who continue to pay the price, sometimes even with their lives.
The World Meteorological Organization said Wednesday that for the first time ever, the most likely scenario for global temperatures is that they will reach 1.5 degrees Celsius of warming for at least a year within the next 5 years. The UN, meanwhile, has warned that there is a 66% chance that the world will reach the critical 1.5 Celsius global warming threshold in the next 4 years, owing to a rise in anthropogenic carbon emissions and an imminent in new weather pattern expected later this year. If the world passes the limit, scientists stress the breach will likely be temporary. Thousands of people in Argentina marched through the streets of Buenos Aires on Thursday protesting the international monetary fund deal, denouncing lack of jobs, low wages and hunger. The trio of demonstrators made up of social and workers' organizations from all over the country made their way from Plaza de Mayo to the offices of the Ministry of Social Development. And now for more international news, let's follow this roundup.
Rescue crews on Thursday evacuated more residents stranded by deadly flooding in the Emilia-Romagna region of northern Italy. The death toll from rains stood at 13, as local media reported on Thursday. But there were still fears that the toll could rise further as a number of people remained missing. The drought-parched region of Emilia-Romagna had already estimated some €1 billion in losses from heavy rains earlier this month, but officials said the latest floods pushed losses to multiple billions, given the extensive damage to infrastructure, building and farming. On the eve of general elections that will determine who will lead Greece for the next 4 years, the ruling Conservative Party emphasized the need for stability as opposition parties highlighted a growing living cost crisis, where the leader of the main opposition in Greece held his largest campaign rally on Thursday in the heart of Athens. Prior to Sunday's vote in a nation that has recovered from a decade-long debt crisis, Tsipras has attacked the administration for not doing enough to reduce the burden of high energy and food costs, and he has pledged that if elected, he will increase wages and pensions as well as reinstate labor rights that had been eliminated. A 20-year-old man escaped a traffic stop in Santiago, Chile by running over a police officer. The suspect exited his car, fled, and was struck by a white van after running over the officer. Before being apprehended by police, the man was seen standing up in police surveillance footage. According to Colonel Marcelo Bustos, the suspect had no criminal background, but the car he was driving had been reported stolen. The police have not disclosed the nature of the officer's injuries, but they have stated that there is no danger to his life.
In the closure of our news bulletin, in the European nights, as Rome earned a 1-0 draw at Bayer Leverkusen in the Europa League semi-final second leg on Thursday to reach the final with 1-0 total win. The Rome side have now reached the second European final in a row under the coach Jose Mourinho following last season's Europa Conference League title. The Italian club now will place Seville, the Spanish team, in the final on May 31 in Budapest. In the other game, Eric Lamela take the leading role at Europa League semi-final and leads Seville into the final once again with a 2-1 victory over Juventus, the Italian club, on Thursday. Sealing a 3-2 aggregate triumph in a fascinating game, Lamela headed home in extra time to complete an impressive comeback for the record 6-time winners, who will face Jose Mourinho's Roma in Budapest on May 31 after the Italian edge passed by Leverkusen. Ladies and ladies and gentlemen, thank you ever so much for being with us in this late hour. For more updates, you can follow our social media platform. And all I can say at the end, have a blessed Friday. Good night.